You may be sitting there with an idea. It could be an innovative or a technology-based idea that could revolutionize your industry. But you also may be thinking, well, hold on, what's the difference between all of these people who come up with these brilliant ideas versus the ones that actually follow through and turn that into a successful business? Well, this video is for you. Take a moment to think about the network around you. I bet for every 10 people that you could name who have brought you a brilliant idea, only one of those have turned that into reality, have turned that into a business, or frankly, even given it a shot. So what is the difference? I'm Arya Chittisi, the director of Ingenesis Ventures, and I'd like to share with you one simple thing that we believe makes a difference when it comes to growing a new venture, growing an innovative venture that starts as a raw idea and turns into a successful, profitable company or income stream for an existing company. And it's the process that moves from idea, project to business. You see, in the first stage, everyone starts with an idea. It simply comes into their mind. They might be doing something completely different and it pops into their mind and they start thinking, hey, this thing could actually work. You know, perhaps we could do things a completely different way. Their imagination is running free and they're starting to visualize what life could be like if we did things with a completely different setup. So this is the idea stage. In this stage, you'll probably feel very excited. You'll feel like, wow, this is a completely different way to do things. The old way is completely inefficient, completely ineffective. And if we only could build this and have it in real life, it would make a big difference to a lot of people. Now, the key thing with this stage is to not get stuck here. We've literally experienced people who have stayed in the idea stage for so long. There they are 3 years later, 5 years later, even 10 years later, saying, I have a hugely valuable idea. And another thing that happens is people get immensely protective of that idea, thinking, I hope that this idea doesn't get out there because someone might steal it. But the fact of the matter is that for every 1,000 ideas, only a handful of them ever make it to even going on to a business plan or an action plan of any sort. So if you are in the idea stage, the first thing that I'd invite you to do is to sit down and start thinking, what will it actually take to build this product, to get this product out there? And that is the first transition that we move from an idea into a project. It's vivid. For people who start seeing their idea no longer as an idea, but as a project, the way they speak, the way that they operate is completely different. They are looking at what actions they can do. They are looking at speaking with people. They are looking at creating designs. They are looking at finding examples of how their actual venture may look and feel once it's done. When someone is in the project stage and you ask them, hey, how is that going? They will tell you clear, tangible actions. They'll say, I just spoke to a potential customer last week and this is the feedback they gave me. I'm speaking to my designer and this is what's happening. If you stay stuck in the idea stage, unfortunately, you may be putting the brakes on that very idea you're excited about. And there's a natural transition that happens from being super excited to starting to go, wow, there's a lot of work to do here. Now, the next thing you might ask is, well, what's the difference between working on a project and working on a business? Well, if you keep going, you see, what is a project? A project is something that starts and stops and we get some type of result from it. So in the project stage, people are working on their validation. They're working on, is this a good idea? They're doing research, right? They're working out the business model. And this is a very important stage because, let's be frank, some ideas should not be turned into businesses. They either don't have the legs to create a commercially viable venture, or it's just not the right timing. So in the project stage, you are running experiments. You are seeing, is there a real demand here? But if you get the right data, if you start getting real people who are interested in what you're doing, then you may find that it naturally moves into creating a business. And for people creating a business, firstly, they start to see things in a far longer term trajectory. They're talking in 1 year's time, 2 years, 5 years, 10. They're starting to see that now we are building a farm. We are growing a farm here. We're planting seeds and we're here to build this out in the long term. Here's one question that will help you identify whether you are building a business or whether you are still in the idea or project stages. What is the return on investment of your business? If you can answer that, and that might mean knowing how many years you're putting into this, it might come in the form of capital that you're investing something and you expect a return at the end of the day. Well, people who are working on a business, they know this. Now, there may be some flexibility that is needed. They might say 3 to 5 years. It's not like we can tell the future, but it's a very different outlook. You see, when it's just a project or an idea, everything is an expense and it's just a risk at that stage. But when you are building a business, you know that there's a real opportunity here and you're building something that can be monetized in the future. It can serve others and provide economic value. So the first question to ask yourself if you've had an idea is, what stage are you at? Are you in that idea stage, the project stage, or the building of a business stage? But secondly, I'd like to point to something that many people simply overlook, and that is how you, as a business owner, a business leader, or entrepreneur, need to transform in the process to have your idea come to life. You see, this comes down to certain ways of being. Certain ways of being, like being courageous. Certain ways of being, like being responsible for your venture and growing it. These are things that you need to work on as a business owner or entrepreneur to have this idea go through the process of coming to life. You see, when you're in idea stage, you have the luxury of thinking in potentialities and thinking of maybe this, maybe that. But you then have to put something at risk when you go in and make it a project, right? Because when you go and make it a project, it could fail. You could get some feedback and advice that you really don't want to hear, but that is the price you pay when you give this up being just an idea and you start to turn it into a real life product or service. And then further than that, when you go to make the leap from project to business, well, think about it for a second. I mean, what type of price would you put for 1 year of your life? How about 2 years, 5 years? One thing that we ask the entrepreneurs that we work with is, how valuable are those years of your life? Even putting the other money aside, right? What you're paid, the capital you need to put in, just that time alone. And you need to be trusting this business model of yours that it's the right thing that you want to invest in and grow. So the people who are shifting over and taking that massive leap of faith and saying, hey, I am here to build this business, well, they're the ones who have done the work to say, you know what, I am in this for the long haul. 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, or even beyond, I'm here to turn this into a real viable business that's thriving in the world. Maybe it has employees, a large customer base, and so on. So this is about who you need to be as an entrepreneur so that your venture doesn't get stuck as just an idea and stuck in that idea stage. You need to be able to evolve yourself so you can move it to the project stage, and then ultimately that you lead the business to grow as a venture. So to summarize, these are the 3 stages that I invite you to ask yourself. If you've had an innovative idea, where are you at? Are you at the idea stage and it's time for you to plan the core actions to turn this into a project? To know that it's not just a good idea, it can actually turn into a business. If you're in the project stage, you want to ask yourself, have you answered those questions to commit to this project and turn it into a business that can span the next 1, 2, 5, or 10 years? What do you need your business to come back and tell you so that you have that confidence to push forward? We know what it's like, because at Ingenesis, we are working every day with business leaders and entrepreneurs like yourself who are going through this process. So keep on going. We know that it's intense, and we acknowledge you for the audacity and the boldness that you have leading your venture out into the world.